So continuing with this food forensic investigation, you're not big on grains.
No.
What do you think about spelt bread? I heard that's the bread to go to if you're going to eat bread. Spelt
That's
bread.
not the bread to go to at all. Spelt is actually...
brother, don't say that.
Spelt is gluten. It's gluten.
Just as bad as what, white?
Yeah, white bread. Yeah, might as well be. If we go back to the Neolithic time, and if we dive back thousands and thousands of years years ago, before the Egyptians, we go back to the Natufian tribe, and we get back in Nubia, who everybody really got their knowledge from, even certain Egyptians. You will start seeing it was a wheat called icorn. All right, so icorn was this 28 chromosome wheat. Hunters and gatherers started getting that and eating that. They noticed that they seen the cattle eating it. And when they seen the cattle eating it, they thought that they could eat it. So they figured out a way to cultivate it. They figured out a way to process it and turn it into icorn flour. Well, what this icorn did so many thousand years ago, it made it with this high grass. And when it made it with this high grass, it became Elmer wheat. So we got icorn, and then icorn became Elmer wheat. Elmer wheat is a 14 chromosome strand grass. Now from this Elmer wheat, what they did was it made it with other different grasses, and this is actually where you get spelt from.
An ancient grain is making a comeback. Spelt is a close cousin of wheat that was first used in biblical times.
Modernized wheat now, they'll grow 100 pounds of that, and typically that can be turned into 100 pounds of flour.
Spelt can be used the same way as wheat.
We got 46 chromosomes apiece, right? 46, 46, and then you make a baby, it still got 46. Your mother has some and your daddy has some, they mix them together. Well, the difference with plants is if a plant have 5 chromosomes and it mate with another plant to have 6 chromosomes, it end up with 11 chromosomes. That's the only species of living species on this earth that can do that, where they match chromosomes and then they add them. If you look at what these things do to you, they actually mess with your chromosomes, and your chromosomes is who you are. That's your genetical information.
But human Y chromosomes are disappearing entirely. Females still have 2 normal X chromosomes, but the Y chromosome is rapidly deteriorating, leaving males with only 1 X and 1 withered, weak Y chromosome.
The scientific world is split. Some people think that the Y chromosome will disappear completely.
Not only that, when you study grains, all grains, they have lectins in it. Lectins is basically these anti-nutrient chemicals that's inside of grains, because grains don't want to be eaten because they're the seeds of grass. Seeds are not made to be eaten because seeds is what regrows the reproductive part of the plant. So of course the creator is going to put something inside the seeds that if you eat it, it's going to upset your stomach, or it's going to do a slow buildup of mucus or something to keep you from eating it, because these seeds don't need to be eaten, because they know intuitively that they have to regrow and yield food for you to eat. Then you have something called wheat germ agglutinin that comes from these wheats. And what wheat germ agglutinin is a complex protein. And what wheat germ agglutinin does is stop something called leptin, not lectins, which what I was just talking about. So you got lectins, which is an anti-nutrients, which is L-E-C-T-I-N. Then you got leptin, which is L-E-P-T-I-N. And what leptin is a fat burning cell. And it literally inhibits this fat burning cell, wheat germ agglutinin. So whenever you eating wheat or whatever you eating grains, you eating this wheat germ agglutinin, you actually stopping your fat burning cells from actually burning the cells in your body, and then you start accumulating visceral fat. Visceral fat is hard to get rid of. Now, not only that, if you eat it, these actually blocks and it proliferates something called estrogen. A man and boys walking around with man boobs. That's coming from the actual wheat germ agglutinin. Now, if you look at proline, proline is actually amino acid, and it creates something called proline. Proline mixed with glutenin. This is what actually creates gluten inside of your wheat. These things can pass the blood and brain barrier and actually attach to morphine and opiate receptors on the brain, and they stimulate your appetite. So the more grains you eat, the more food you want. So you can eat grains all day and you full, but you wondering why you just can't get enough and you still hungry. That's because it stimulates your appetite.
It's a bad dude here, y'all.
Man, this stuff is crazy.
It's a bad dude.
Not only that, the grains, they actually make you crazy.
For many Americans, eating healthier would be a top New Year's resolution. And one expert says we should start by eliminating gluten. Dr. David Perlmutter claims eating foods high in carbohydrates causes brain inflammation and can trigger neurological disorders like anxiety, depression, and ADHD.
Not only that, these are high fungus foods because they take longer to break down. Not only that, it's something called amylopectin A that's inside of them, right? You have something called amylose or amylase inside of your mouth and in your stomach that breaks amylopectin down real fast. So you get high blood sugar from it. 99% of diabetes cases is not from these artificial sugars, but it's really from the sugars that's coming from the grains. Hold on, not only that though, when it breaks down the amylopectin C, you still have these hard polypeptide chains called opioid polypeptide chains that can't even get broken down. When you look at the peptide chains, there's 21 peptide chains in each of your grains, right? When you chew them and break them down, the hydrochloric acid in your stomach can only break them down to 5 peptide chains. So the stomach don't even know what to do with the rest of them because it's too complex in amino acid structure. So guess what this shit does? It goes inside of the microvilli of your stomach and it knocks over the microvilli. When it knocks over the microvilli, it breaks them apart. Now what happens is the blood and brain mucosa barrier that separates your stomach from your internals, it breaks open. So now what happens is all the little bitty food particles and anti-nutrients and micronutrients slip through the stomach, and it's called leaky gut. And it start messing with stuff. Guess what this do? This stir up what they call the immunological systems. So now you got T cells, B cells, lymphocytes, phagocytes, all different types of the immune system going and fighting, trying to get rid of these foreign invaders, all because you're eating foods and grains you're not supposed to be eating that's completely destroying our mental bodies, our spiritual bodies, and our physical bodies. Grains are the seeds of foods. Seeds supposed to be left alone to regrow crops. So what they did was, or what the creator did was, put something called lectins inside of them to protect that plant. Put something called wheat germ agglutinin inside of it to protect that plant. Put something called saponins inside of it to protect that plant. Put something called tannins inside of it to protect that plant. If we see that it is fighting for its life not to be eaten just to regrow things to give us food, then why are we eating them?